Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm Lani Kakiet. I'm a solutions consultant at Treasure Data. Thank you so much for coming down to the session. I know it's been a really long 2 days for those of you who have been here yesterday and today, or a long day today. So for this session, I'm going to talk about how removing data blind spots and why this is so important for creating connected customer experiences beyond just marketing. So over the past few years, businesses have been forced to take a really giant leap in their digital transformation. We've all had unprecedented digital disruption in all of our lives, where most of us have grown our digital interactions over the past 2 or 3 years. Businesses are seeing a lot more chaotic customer journeys across different channels, different touch points, different devices, whether that's offline and online. And businesses are having to rethink how they engage with their customers wherever they may be. And we're also seeing a lot of new and evolving data privacy regulations. Customers are more wary about data security. Customers are less willing to share their data. But they still expect, the personalized experiences that sharing data makes possible. So this is really posing a challenge to businesses where they need to be able to deliver that superior customer experience, but at the same time still make sure that they're keeping their customers' data safe. And it's never been more important to also take advantage of the data that brands have, especially in this economic downturn. We're seeing a lot of the conversations that we're having with companies shift from profitability growth to efficiencies and savings. And it's really critical that companies make use of all of the data that they're already collecting about their customers while ensuring that they remain compliant. And consumers are expecting more, and we expect services, products, now and very quickly. So to meet their expectations, brands are having to focus on how do we deliver the next best product, the next best service, the next best offer in the right channel and in the right time. And how do we do that in a compliant manner wherever they may operate? So whether that's in the EU or in the US or in Latin America, there are different legislations that are constantly evolving. So they're having to rethink their strategies to ensure that they're still delivering that customer experience while remaining compliant. And for customers these days, they're very aware of the fact that their data is being collected, but they are expecting a concrete benefit out of this value exchange. So a lot of customers today are asking, is this brand worth my money? Is this brand worth my time? And is this brand worth sharing my data with? And what do I get out of it? It's very easy to subscribe to newsletters or find vouchers or coupons like I do to get a discount, but it's also very easy to unsubscribe and then shop elsewhere, find a different brand who can deliver that experience. So again, it's making sure that you remain compliant, but also, deliver that experience wherever the customer may be. So having worked in MarTech for over 12 years now, the conversations have been similar. When I joined this industry, it's always been, how do we make sense of all the data we have to ensure that we're delivering that experience to the customers? And what we're really seeing are what we call blind spots, and it's those missing pieces of data and connecting them all together that makes it challenging for brands to deliver that superior CX. And so this is nothing new. There are lots of different tools and systems out there that help brands, collect all of this data, process all of that data. But how are they making sure that they all talk to each other and connect to each other? So when we speak to a lot of businesses, delivering a superior CX is top of mind for them. But, it's still a challenge for a lot of enterprises that we speak to. And in fact, a lot of the marketing teams that we work with on a day-to-day basis, they're aware that having access to customer data is really important, but it's really challenging for them when those systems are often managed by IT. It's very hard to get hold of that data. Often it takes days or weeks to get access to that data, and by that time, the customer has moved elsewhere, and they really need to make sure that they can leverage the data that they have right now to ensure that they can deliver that experience in real time. And so part of the problem is, most enterprises have such a huge tech stack with so many different applications, all collecting different pieces of data, whether that's on the e-commerce site, whether that's on mobile apps. They're collecting data in their CRM, they're collecting data in their marketing automation systems. The customer service teams have, their own different sets of tools that don't necessarily speak to the tools that the marketing teams have. So we have all of these data silos, but also the teams that are accessing this data and managing all of these systems don't necessarily talk to each other. So how can we bring all of this systems and tools together to ensure that we're, building an accurate profile of each individual, whether they're speaking to customer service, to marketing, or to sales? So that's where customer data platforms come in. They can really simplify this process. So if we look at the CDP Institute, they describe a customer data platform as a packaged software that creates a persistent, unified customer profile, and that makes it accessible to other systems. So if we just unpack those 3 different points, when we talk about a packaged software, it means that the nature of the system makes it easily and readily available to deploy. And that makes it easier to maintain in the long run as systems change, as businesses' tech stack evolves, as they bring in new different tools or they rip and replace their existing tools. It makes it easy to connect to all of the different data sources and activation channels. And if we look at the second point around creating a persistent, unified profile, so if you think back of the diagram in the previous slide where you have, maybe hundreds of different applications, each one has its own unique identifier of a customer, of an individual. How do you stitch all of that together? How do you know that this particular individual, you have the right, mobile device IDs, the CRM IDs, their email addresses? How do we build that unified profile of each individual and ensure that you're actually communicating to the right person at the right time? And then on the third point around making it accessible to other systems. So this is where you can then act on that data. So not just, running analytics or modeling on that data, but also making it easy for business users, for non-technical users to activate that data. So whether that's pushing that data out to a marketing automation tool for campaigning, or pushing that data out to an analytics or BI tool for visualization, or pushing that data to a DSP for targeting. So, there are many systems that connect to a customer data platform, and that's one of the foundational pieces, is that it makes it easy for non-technical users to then act on that data and then communicate with their customers. So there are different types of CDPs that we see in the market. So we have data CDPs who are really good at collecting that data. They have a lot of data integration tools. You can also build audiences and segments. Typically, their background is in, tag management or web analytics. So we're seeing a lot of that legacy business still prevail. We also have analytics CDPs where they're really good at data assembly, but also running, analytical models and help with visualization. And we also have campaign CDPs where marketeers can create treatments for each of their customer segments and audiences. And then we also have delivery CDPs on the other end of that spectrum, where they have the execution or delivery capability. So being able to then actually deliver that end message in the downstream channel. So some of these, capabilities are all familiar. And what makes it so confusing in the customer data platform market is that these capabilities overlap with a lot of different tools that businesses already have. So, if you think about a data management platform or a DMP, this was the precursor of a CDP. They're really good at, bringing in second-party or third-party data. However, they're only dealing with anonymous and aggregated data. So it's not really good at, targeting at a one-to-one basis. On the other hand, you have your, data lakes, your data warehouse, and this is most usually, managed by IT. You've got all kinds of data, so not just customer data, you've got financial data, you've got sales operations data. And these tools, are great at bringing together all of those kinds of data, but it's not necessarily easy for other parts of the business, like marketing, to action on that data very easily. So this is where a CDP differentiates itself, is that it has a lot of those, big data capabilities, but then it also enables marketeers to then easily act on that data. And typically, these systems are managed by marketing and business users rather than IT. And so when we look at the market, there are many differences between the CDPs that we see out there. One of the common things that we often hear is that the tools that they have are not flexible enough. So what does that mean? So they may only be able to ingest certain types of data. So they can only ingest, structured or semi-structured data. But we're seeing a lot of companies now deal with unstructured data. So they may want to bring in, contact center transcripts or video or images. So having a CDP that allows you to ingest any kinds of data becomes really powerful. Also, the fact that a lot of customer data platforms have very fixed data models. So what does that mean? So it means that you're having to spend weeks or even months having to pre-process your data to fit a specified data model. And again, that means that you're not getting your return on investment or time to value very quickly, because you're having to spend time with your data engineering team to just pre-process or reformat your data. We're also seeing a lot of tools out there that have models. I mean, these days, it's table stakes to have machine learning, and yet the models that are available are black box solutions. It's not so easy to customize the features that are going into these models, the data that's being used to train the model. So it's important for businesses to really understand what's behind the models that customer data platforms provide. Also, we're seeing that a lot of tools as well have not such a wide range of integrations. And again, with the evolving tech stack, it's really important to be able to connect to any data system. And again, that's a very critical piece of what a CDP should have. So, selecting the right customer data platform for your business is really, really critical. So, we're seeing a lot of interest in the market. However, we're seeing a lot of businesses have multiple CDPs or tools that they consider as CDPs, but in fact, it's not really allowing them to build that 360 view of the customer because of some of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. We're also seeing that a lot of these customer data platform vendors are either being acquired or bought by other larger organizations. Again, it's making it complex for buyers to really discern what these tools do. And often, the messaging is the same across these different solutions. So at Treasure Data, we've been in the space now for 11 years. So we started out as a big data management platform. We pivoted in 2016 to the CDP market before the term CDP was even coined. And really that's to, allow marketeers, give them an intuitive UI to be able to build their audiences, build their campaigns, and activate on that data. And now we've expanded that vision to move just beyond marketing. So it's going beyond just journey orchestration or campaigns and audiences to then make that data available to the rest of the organization. Again, going back to the theme of removing data blind spots. So we're seeing the customer data platform as becoming a foundational technology for data compliance teams. So a customer data platform gives you this catalog or inventory of all of the systems in your estate that hold customer data. And again, it makes traceability, easy for compliance teams. Understanding, where that data has come from, which system have you ingested that from, how that data was processed within the platform, how that data was used in, machine learning models, where that's building maybe, a propensity model or an RFM score or a next best action algorithm, having a record of how that piece of customer data is used in all of these algorithms. Also understanding how that data is used in audiences and how that data is used in activation. So a lot of highly regulated industries, this is something that's critical to their compliance teams. Is a customer calls up, how come you sent me this offer? I don't think this is right for me. So having a catalog of all of that data makes it easy for compliance teams to react to those types of queries. And also, enabling compliance teams to manage data subject requests. So because you have, all of the customer data with the right consent and the right data usage policies tied to that individual profile, it helps you manage all of those DSR activities. We're also seeing the scope of customer data platforms move to customer service. So often these customer service tools don't necessarily have all of the historical, transactional data or browsing behavior that a customer may have. So, if somebody calls up to the customer care, you have an existing complaint, you might not want to target that customer or, send them an offer until their complaint is resolved. So tying that part of the organization to the customer data you have is also quite critical. And it helps your customer care agents also deliver that superior customer experience. So this is the vision that we have at Treasure Data, is moving the scope of the CDP beyond just marketing to other parts of the organization, to compliance, to customer service, and to sales. I think this is a great example of how we've helped a business, a large global enterprise, in their digital transformation. So AB InBev, the beer brewer behind brands like Stella or Corona, they operate across 40 different countries in EMEA, in America, in Latin America. And if you can imagine, they have to comply with different legislations across those different jurisdictions. So we've helped them unify all of their data across 1,000 different data sources, and that's across a number of different e-commerce sites, from their data management platforms, from their data lakehouse, from their CRM, from their ad platform. So you name it, we've brought all of that data together, but at the same time ensure that we're tying consent and data usage policy to each individual profile across those different jurisdictions. So we have, a catalog of all of their data assets in those respective regions and countries. So this is a great example of how we've helped, a large brand like this, grow their marketing activities, their database, by having that single view of the customer. I talk about privacy and compliance a lot because, this is really top of mind in all of the conversations that we have with customers. And really with a customer data platform, it really helps you bring in all of those different consent and preferences across different channels. So whether that's coming in directly from the channels themselves or from a consent management platform, the CDP is really critical to mastering that data and ensure that, before you activate that data, you have the right consent, the right opt-in for that particular channel, for that particular purpose, and for that particular campaign. And as preferences change over time, you also have a record of all of those different subscriptions or opt-outs within the CDP. We're also seeing a lot of talk around the third-party cookies going away and the deprecation of mobile ad IDs. And so the shift is really moving towards prioritizing your first-party data. So that is what customer data platforms are good at, is managing your first-party data, but you still have the ability to enrich that data with third-party data or second-party data, again, tying it to that profile. We're also seeing a lot of talk around data clean rooms. So this allows businesses to connect their first-party data with aggregated third-party data that retailers or partners have, and generate insights that the brands or businesses might not necessarily have access to. So if we think about, let's say, AB InBev with a data clean room, they can potentially run their models against a data clean room. So that's running it against a retailer's transactional data to see how events like weather affect product usage, and that's what data clean rooms provide, without actually seeing or accessing that PII data themselves. So being able to get those advanced insights, but remaining compliant and secure at the same time. We're also seeing a lot of talk around these new identity initiatives and consortia. So again, this idea of all of these new identifiers that are coming in with the deprecation of cookies. So these are all really critical in your customer data and your MarTech landscape. So with that, I'd just like to close with, as brands or businesses are facing these challenges, it's everyone's job within a business to ensure that they're making sense of that data. So it's not just marketing or IT, customer service or sales, legal compliance. There needs to be a cross-functional collaboration on, what is the strategy, what is the experience that we want to deliver, and how do we do that with the data that we have. And it's also important to have the right resources in place. We speak to a lot of brands that are, rich in data. They have tons and tons of data, but they're analytics poor. So make sure that you have the right data engineers or data scientists, really leveraging the tech stack that you have to make sense of that data. And lastly, just make sure to put the customer at the heart of everything you do. Think of the experience that you want to deliver and ensure that you're protecting their data at the same time. Thank you.